The other thing that happened today that I think we all should be really weary of. Do y'all remember back in 2014 when Mike Pence got on George Stephanopoulos? I can never say his name properly, and I do apologize if I mispronounce that, and I hate that. When he got on George's show, and he told George, you know, hey, the Indiana RFRA bill is just like the federal bill. You know, it's just like the federal bill. You know, George, you remember? I know you remember that, right? George, he embarrassed the hell out of everybody in Indiana because he was incoherent and he made no sense, and he could not say for the life of him that Indiana would not discriminate against LGBT folks based on religious beliefs. Today, another executive order. Another executive order. This executive order signed by 45 said, this order was to vigorously promote religious liberty. I thought the First Amendment of our Constitution took care of all of everyone's ability to pray like they wanted to pray. They can believe what they wanted to believe. They can have whatever, you know, deity that they wanted in their heart when they wanted to have it. But when they walked into public spaces and they were dealing with people who may be different than them, then they were not allowed to discriminate. I find it very interesting that he said in 2014, Mike Pence said in 2014 that this is just like the RFRA that Bill Clinton signed. Then why did you have your homeboy sign a new one today that vigorously promote religious liberty? Either you were lying then or you're lying now. Which is it? See, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. You know, I try not to argue. No, I ain't gonna lie. I enjoy a good argument every now and then. Let's stop that. But today I saw someone post something on Facebook about last year's primary, a year ago today, the primary, and the results that happened. And Bernie won. Indiana. He won Indiana. So all the Bernie supporters in Indiana, you did your job. You won Indiana. But why are we still talking about that? Here we have today, they gutted Dodd-Frank, and then we have an executive order by number 45. Essentially gives more people a reason to I know they watered it down because the original one's going to be more like the Indiana one, and they was like, oh no, it's going to court. So, you know, tax dollars are going to be spent to fight this one. Don't worry. ACLU is on it. Trust, know, and believe. As soon as they heard whiff of it, they was getting their team together. But here's the deal. Elections have consequences. So I actually had to kind of like eliminate somebody from my space today. I usually don't do that because I believe in discourse. I believe that, you know, we learn from each other when we can embrace different ideas, when we can embrace opportunities to learn from each other. But I went on ahead and got rid of somebody today because number one, all they do is bash what happened. And then when I asked them what we should do next, they got nothing. And then I asked them, did they actually vote? They told me no. Now, I gave this person like a long leash because I feel like, you know what, he's using this platform, you know, Indiana's own as a way to express himself, and some people may feel him, and, you know, I'm down with that. But I can only take so much of your negativity when you are not contributing to what's going to make this thing right. So before I get to talking about the health care bill and the negative impact that this is going to have on Americans across the country, many of you know I now work with the Indiana State Democrat Party. I'm excited about working with the Indiana State Democrat Party. And let me tell you why I'm working with the state party. After I ran for office, I saw that there were things that they just weren't quite right. I felt like, things could be different in the state party. But instead of me going on Facebook, I did do a post, but instead of me just going on Facebook or going on Twitter and ranting about how horrible a specific organization was, I decided to roll my sleeves up and get involved with the organization and see what I could do to bring to the table to try to fix it or try to help make it better. Now, you have a choice. You can sit around and you can complain all day because everybody has the right to complain. They have the right to bitch and moan. They got the right to do all of that. Everybody has the right to do that. But what else are you going to do? Are you actually going to get up and try to help solve the problem? Or are you just going to sit there and moan and groan about it? Are you out knocking on doors and finding out who the new neighbor is in your precinct and making sure that they're registered to vote? Are you out recruiting people saying, hey, I think you would be a great candidate. You should run for office? Are you sharing information about training that's going on around the state to prepare people to run for office? Are you recruiting people to be volunteers to help candidates? Are you doing any of these things? Or are you just sitting around on your sofa eating Cheetos, pretending like things are going to change because you said you wanted them to change while you sitting on your seat? That's not how it goes. See, I am not a baby boomer. And I'm not a millennial. I'm that generation that nobody ever talks about, the Gen Xers. I'm that generation where we still drink water out of the water hose and didn't worry about the bacteria that we got. Nobody put a baby on board sign in the station wagon. We rode our bikes with no helmets. We just didn't fall. Oh, I did once. I got a scar to prove it too. We were the generation that still believed that we can be better than what our parents were. We still believed that it was up to us to change the world. Now, I will say this, man, we thought we really had arrived. I mean, golly, the civil rights movement was so huge for someone like me who went to North Central High School because, typically they didn't want us in that district. They didn't want to, I met a young man who he was so super proud that his father was the attorney that was fighting against busing and giving black kids the opportunity to move into certain neighborhoods. He was excited about that was his father. Hey, whatever makes you high, man. But here's the deal. Either you're going to put up or you're going to shut up. Folks who didn't vote, folks who sat around and said, I am abstaining and this is my protest vote. How that shit working out for you? Oops, sorry. How that working out for you? I hope you have good employer insurance. I hope you do. Because if you don't, you're in trouble. So let's get to talking about it. All right. Healthcare. Pre-existing conditions. Medication. Keg party. The House had a keg party after they signed the bill that says we're going to kick 24 million Americans off of their health insurance and give the top 1% a huge tax cut. I want you to let that sink in for just a minute. They had a keg party. They had a keg party. After they celebrated. Look what we did. We want to make sure that we defund Planned Parenthood so you can't plan your parenthood. And then if you accidentally get pregnant, well, that's a pre-existing condition. And, we're not going to cover that. Did you see the photograph? Did you see the press conference? Number 45, standing up with all those Republicans. Did you see any color? Oh, I'm sorry. This is not about black and white. But did you see any color? I asked this question because The people who voted for this bill have a very limited view of what America is. They have a very limited view of who Americans are. The fact that there's very little diversity in the Republican Party in the House and they voted to gut health care. Man, they gutted 24 million people. We've already tried to cut, after school funding. We tried to cut food. We tried to cut, it is quite obvious to me. It is quite obvious to me as I look at today's events that the people who have been elected to office don't give a rat's behind about average, everyday working people. If they are willing to risk your savings so that bankers can be a little bit more frivolous with your savings account, so be it. If they are willing to raise your taxes for gas and cut corporate taxes in your state, so be it. What are you going to do? You're not going to vote because I don't like the lesser of two evils and they're just horrible and blah, 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 blah. Big ass babies. Now look what happens. When you get sick, I hope you have good employer health care. All of those protest non-voters. Let me tell you something. I know some Bernie voters, man. These were some hard-working people. They organized. I stay right here in Indiana, so I got it. And they worked their tails off. They worked their tails off for Bernie. They did everything they could to get Bernie elected. But when Bernie didn't win the primary, they weren't happy about it. No. They were not happy about it. They were holding on hope. They went to the convention. And they still wanted to cast their votes for Bernie, and they did that thing. I applaud them. I applaud that effort. But once they saw, okay, this isn't happening for us, we need to move on. They looked at the D side and the R side, and they said, the D side is probably going to reach more of my needs than the R side is. I'm going to go head over here. Because that's where Bernie was. How the hell you going to vote for a socialist, but then allow capitalism to run amok? Because that's what's about to happen. That's what's about to happen. I know I said that I was going to let Dominic and Satch, talk about police brutality in the streets. I know I said I was going to let Don't Sleep and BLM talk about 15-year-old little boys being shot in a car that's driving away because, little boys at 15 years old aren't supposed to go out and have fun. I don't even know why they don't just go ahead and say, well, if he hadn't been breathing, then he wouldn't have got shot. I know I said I was going to leave it alone, but here's the deal. Elections have consequences. This is where I bring it back. Jeff Sessions, you think he's going to try and go out and try to get justice for a 15-year-old little boy that just was shot? You think Jeff Sessions give two rats about a young brother that just got shot? He was too racist under the Reagan regime. What makes you think he's changed any now that he's older? The older we get, the more set in our ways we are. We got real issues. And it is not lost on me. It is not lost on me today that today is the National Day of Prayer. It is not lost on me. It is not lost on me that today is the National Day of Prayer. Did y'all know that? I knew that and I thought about it and I was like, wow. The National Day of Prayer. We need to pray that we can figure out how to fill our gas tanks up now because the Christian Republicans on the right who family values and all them people decided that you can afford 10 more cents, but the corporate tax structure needs to continue to come down. You need to pray that we don't, kill our environment completely because we refuse to use renewable energies that are sustain us for a long period of time and continue to use fossil fuels that destroy our environment. If you have asthma in Indiana, you better pray. Today, you better pray that eventually the air quality in the state of Indiana improves. You better pray. Today's a National Day of Prayer. You need to pray that when you put your money in 401k and Wall Street gets to playing with it, that you have some money when you need it. You better pray. National Day of Prayer. National Day of Prayer. You better pray that when you decide to go out to eat with your family, and if you're like me, you're in a same-sex relationship where, my wife is much better looking than I am. You better pray that you don't get treated so poorly by some religious person who doesn't want to serve you. Because I thought we went through this already. But obviously not. You better pray. You better pray that when you get sick, that you can get the health care that you need. You better pray. National Day of Prayer. National Day of Prayer. This is what went down in our nation today. And isn't it funny, over the last week, we had the President of the United States of America questioned whether or not people wondered why there was a civil war. This fool has no sense of history. He has no sense of history. And Andrew Jackson, I'm not going to go through the timelines and all the dumb stuff that he said, because it's not just him. And I've said it over and over again. It's the people that believe in him. I asked a Republican friend of mine who's on my Facebook page, and I will leave him nameless. And I didn't even ask it on his page. I asked it in a message because I wasn't interested in, the Facebook frenzy of an argument. I really genuinely wanted to know, was he happy with the first 100 days? And he said, well, they cut regulations. So yeah, he's like super happy. He was like ecstatic. And I said, well, what things excite you? You're a Republican. What things have excited you about the first 100 days? And he said, well, cut regulation and the healthcare thing is coming and the tax reform thing is coming. I said, okay, I get that. You're telling me things that are coming. But what has he done over the first 100 days that you're so happy about? I asked that question 2 days ago. I'm still waiting on an answer. I probably won't get it. So it's his followers that I'm most concerned with. There are American citizens right now who honestly believe that the Civil War was not about slavery. There are Americans walking the streets right now who are so convinced that it was simply a states' rights issue. Yes, it was a state's right to own other humans, you fool. Finish the sentence. See, this is where we are in America. This is where we are. We want to deny what's real. We want to deny the happenings. Pre-existing conditions. I hope you don't have one. I do. I have one. I have a whole bunch of them. Whew. I better keep my government gig. Oh, wait. They're trying to cut that too, but I better keep my government gig. But here's the point to my rant today. And normally, and I try to have guests so that you guys don't get bored just listening to me ramble on because, don't nobody want to listen to the same person all the time. I get that. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to get up off your butts. Now is the time to say, what am I going to do to contribute? I love the rallies. God knows I love me a good reason to get together and clap and listen to great speeches and give some great speeches. Man, I've been asked to do a rally in July. I'm excited about that. I love doing rallies. I love, I had the most amazing experience being able to be on a television show and express, with my energy on a show. That's exciting. I love that. And I know a lot of people really like the camaraderie that comes with rallying and being in the streets and protesting and holding our signs. But real change comes when we are in the room, when we are sitting at the table and we are writing the laws. What are you doing, sir, ma'am, black man, white man, Hispanic man, Asian man, gay man, straight man, and woman, for all those other categories? What are we doing? What are you doing to change this? You see, we got excited. I mean, I'm gonna tell you. Remember the last time the House the healthcare bill failed? They didn't get a vote. Man, I was euphoric. I was giggling. I was laughing. I'm like, ha 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 ha. Whoo, man, crash and burn. They imploded. You know what they did? They went farther to the right to get those freedom caucusers. The freedom caucusers, they don't want anybody to have any insurance or any help getting any insurance. So they went that direction to get those votes. The fight ain't over. The fight can only stop being over when we are in the seats. We need to be in there with Congressman Carson, fighting every day for us. You may not like everything about him. I'm not suggesting that you're supposed to like everything about him. If you like everything about him, something wrong with him. You need to call Senator Donnelly. Yes, Democrats, call Senator Donnelly. Support him. Help him. There are a lot of things that I didn't like that he did, but guess what? He votes down the Democrat line 75% of the time. 75% of the time he's with Democrats. You may not be a Democrat. That's fine. Find something that speaks to you. 75% of the time, Senator Donnelly is with Democrats. How often do you think Todd Rokita is with Democrats? How often do you think Todd Young is with Democrats? How often? They're not. Look at their voting records. Look, every Republican representative in Indiana voted for this silly, I want to just destroy the black president's legacy bill. Every one of them. Not giving a whit's behind about who it negatively affects. Every one of them. And you want to tell me about a symbolic gesture about not voting. And you want to tell me about a symbolic gesture about voting for Jill Stein and that the two parties are all the same. I'm not going to tell you that the Democrat Party is perfect because we already know it is not. When you are the big tent and you let everybody in, trust, know, and believe there's going to be some arguments. Trust, know, and believe there's going to be some dissension. But the difference between us and them, man, they fall in line like soldiers. They fall in line like they hated Donald Trump. They hated him. But guess what? They fell in line. I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but we better have a better game plan than that. Now, I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'll be in Porter County in a couple of weeks helping to recruit candidates. I was in Madison County a couple weeks ago trying to recruit candidates. I'm going to the Allen County Young Democrats Club meeting so I can find out what they're fighting for over in Allen County, and I want to hear what they're talking about, and I want to take it back, right? I want to take it back to the state party and say, see, state party, this is what we need to be working on. My job as the deputy chair for engagement is to hear what you are saying and take it back to the state party chair and say, state party chair, how can we fix this thing? We can't. What one person can see every problem? What one person can see every problem? What one person sees every issue? Not one person on this planet can do that. But if you see something that we're missing, bring it to us. Don't just sit around and complain about it. Help us fix it. Let's get involved. Let's get engaged. We have the opportunity of a lifetime to change things up. I don't want to hear, off election years, Democrats don't show up. No, the trend is always whoever's in power, they always lose seats 2 years later. So this is an opportunity. Ever want to run for office? Do it now. On Saturday, the state party has over 150 students who have signed up to learn how to run a campaign. The state party is not charging any of those folks anything to learn how to run a campaign. We need volunteers. So you're not the out front type of person and you don't necessarily want everybody in your face and in your business. And that's fine. I get that. My wife is like that. My wife, she's like, oh, please, why I got to go out there? That's not who she is. That's not her personality. But we will train you how to be a good volunteer. We will train you on what you need to do to help a candidate win. I mean, hey, I guess after that young man, when I was in my 20s, wanted to fight me because there was a young lady he wanted to talk to, but the young lady wanted to talk to me, and he was ready to fight me. He was ready to, a grown man was ready to fight me. You know, at the time I had short hair, bald fade, and I may have looked like a dude, but I've never told you that I was a dude. I've always been a girl. I know I'm a girl, but this grown man wanted to fight me because there was something he wanted that wasn't coming his way. I guess I could have gave up and stopped being me. I could have gave up and pretended like, you know, if I blend in to fit in, life will be a whole lot better. No. Be true to self. Be true to self. And if you really are passionate as I see you are on Facebook, writing these wonderful soliloquies about, you know, what the party needs to do and what the party doesn't need to do, then come join me. Dana, D-A-N-A, at indianasown.com. Hit me up. Let's talk about it. Let's work together. This is my call to action, because today, on a national day of prayer, when all of these folks are finding new ways, inventive ways to bring down the American people, 24 million people could lose their insurance. Guess who pays for that? We pay for it. When we go to work, and we get our paycheck and we're paying our premiums and we still have to go and pay higher premiums, or when we go to the doctor, we got to pay a higher copay. We're paying for other people. So it never stops. If you believe that, you know, I don't want to cover somebody else's insurance, if you believe that notion, you're tripping. Get involved, people. You know what I'm saying? Get involved. You know, this is too important. 2017, we need to be educating ourselves, finding out what voters are talking about. We need to educate ourselves on how to run campaigns, how to be good volunteers, how to knock on doors, how to be involved. Get in front of people. Get in front of people. You know, you're not going to agree with everything everyone says. Stop pretending like they have to be perfect. You know, Senator Donnelly is not perfect. He's a man. If you cut him, he's going to bleed red. He's a man. But he has your interests at heart more than Tyrikita. He's got your interests at heart more than Todd Young. But hey, do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Sit around and keep fighting over who's better between Bernie and Hillary from 2016. Keep on. Keep on. You know what I liken that to? I liken that to two people sitting around discussing the morality of slavery. Really? You still going to discuss the morality of slavery? It's done. Now, we can continue to talk about the negative impact that it has had on people of color in the country for the last 150 years. Definitely. But to rehash whether or not we should or should not have had slavery is dumb. To continue to rehash whether or not Hillary was better than Bernie and Bernie was better than Hillary, they both lost. They both lost. And now we have an administration that is doing everything it possibly can to make your life more miserable under the auspice that they give a damn about you. They got it, Dodd-Frank, for goodness sakes. Bernie Madoff didn't teach them nothing. Tyco didn't teach them nothing. Exxon didn't teach them nothing. Nothing. All of the things that's happened over the last 10 years taught them nothing. Oh, we don't need financial regulations. Nah, we just gonna let that go. We just gonna let that go. We don't need those things. But you know what we do need? We need to be able to regulate what a woman does with her body. That's the regulation we need. Yeah, we need to regulate that. we need to figure out how to make it more difficult for a woman to, not make a decision about her own body. I'm just saying. Hey, I apologize to all my Facebook Live folks. I must have lost the feed, AT&T, you know what I'm saying? Big business. They do what they want to, how they want to do it. They dropped me, and then I got back. So it's going to look like it's going to be two different shows. But my man, www.radionext.tv. Listen, I had an amazing experience the other day. Someone offered to sponsor the show because, that would be a great thing because it does cost electricity and it does cost, Jumbo Love some time and energy to help me produce this show. If you are at all interested in, donating to this show so that we can keep talking about things that matter to us on the left side of things, Jumbo Love says you can reach directly out to him on Radio Next. He says we can do, because he's got a lot of amazing different things that he's got going on at this radio station. And the bottom line is everyone deserves a voice. I am not the voice for everyone, but everyone deserves a voice. And hopefully my voice resonates with somebody. And I've inspired some people today. On the National Day of Prayer, I am praying that somebody wants to join an organization and get involved and go register some voters. I'm praying today on the National Day of Prayer that we get an opportunity to change the face of our government. We got so much power. We don't even know how powerful we are. We've got the power. The Indiana State Democrat Party wants to work with you. You heard Kate Sweeney Bell. The Marion County Party wants to work with you. Listen, there's a place for you. We're not going to agree 100% of the time. There's a place for you. And if you are interested in helping us spread the word and what we're trying to do in the state of Indiana, reach out to me, Dana, D-A-N-A, at indianasown.com. And I will make sure that if you connect with me, I will give you Jumbo Love's information, because he's the guy that understands how the business side of this works. I'm just the mouthpiece. Right? I just show up and talk. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening tonight. National Day of Prayer. Pray for people who have pre-existing conditions. National Day of Prayer. Pray for people that they don't lose their money in Wall Street. National Day of Prayer. Pray that people can actually fill up their gas tanks and pay their utility bills. Indiana's own Dana Black. Turn left. I got hyped today. I'm sorry if I was yelling. I actually said a couple of cuss words, and I apologize. I really do. But I was fired up today. I was an angry black woman today, but you can't call me that. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy. Peace.